like a kid.
And get paid for your fantasies.
And I learned to do the Tarzan yell when I was a little kid playing with my cousin. She was always Jane.
Carol Burnett made America laugh for 11 straight years. Her show was a television institution, a weekly ritual for millions of families. But behind the laughter, there were secrets the network tried to bury. Sketches that were too raw, jokes that pushed too far, and one piece of footage so outrageous that CBS locked it away in a vault for decades. The reason it was banned has remained a mystery until now. What really happened during that taping, and why did the network fight so hard to keep it hidden? The genesis and rise of The Carol Burnett Show. In 1962, Carol Burnett signed a 10-year contract with CBS that seemed straightforward enough at the time. The network had big plans for her, but buried deep in the fine print was a clause that would change television history. The contract stipulated that within the first 5 years, Burnett had the right to push a button. If she did, CBS would be contractually obligated to give her a 30-week primetime variety series. It was an unusual provision, one that the network likely assumed would never be exercised. Burnett herself was not entirely sure she wanted to use it. She had never considered herself a variety show host. The format felt like a man's world, dominated by the likes of Jackie Gleason and Dean Martin. But the clause existed, and its deadline was approaching. As the final week of the 5-year window arrived in 1967, Burnett and her husband, producer Joe Hamilton, found themselves in a difficult financial position. They were broke. The clause suddenly looked less like a curious piece of legal language and more like a lifeline. Burnett called the network and told them she wanted to push the button. The executive on the other end of the line did not even remember the clause existed. He told her he would get back to her, and she imagined a team of lawyers scrambling to verify the details. When he called back, the news was not what she had hoped for. He told her flatly that variety was a man's game, a format suited for Jackie Gleason, Milton Berle, and Dean Martin. He offered her a sitcom instead. The show was called Here's Agnes, and Burnett had no interest in playing that character. She wanted something bigger. She wanted music, sketches, guest stars, and a repertory company. The contract was on her side, and CBS had no choice but to put her show on the air. With the network forced into compliance, Burnett set about building her ensemble. Her casting choices would become legendary. She had been an admirer of Harvey Korman's work on The Danny Kaye Show and insisted he join her new series. When Korman's show ended in the spring of 1967, Burnett pursued him directly. The story goes that she famously spotted him in a CBS parking lot and literally begged him to come on board. He signed on immediately. Lyle Waggoner had recently auditioned for the lead role in the Batman television series, losing the part to Adam West. Shortly after that disappointment, he auditioned for Burnett and was hired as the show's announcer and handsome leading man. Vicki Lawrence was just 17 years old when she wrote a fan letter to Burnett, enclosing a newspaper clipping that showed their striking physical resemblance. Burnett was intrigued and visited Lawrence at a local pageant. The teenager was cast as Burnett's kid sister in recurring sketches. Tim Conway, who would become a permanent cast member in later seasons, initially appeared only as a guest star because executives feared a full-time contract would disrupt his availability. The show operated at an intense Broadway-style pace inside CBS Studio 33 in Hollywood. The production required a 28-piece live studio orchestra, 12 professional dancers, and 2 distinct guest stars every single week. The format was demanding, but Burnett thrived in the chaos. The show premiered on September 11, 1967, and bypassed standard television production procedures by taping the entire 75-minute block sequentially in just over 2 hours. It was a grueling schedule, but the results were undeniable. Over its 11-season run, The Carol Burnett Show accumulated 25 Primetime Emmy Awards. More significantly, Burnett broke institutional gender barriers by becoming the first woman to headline, produce, and completely own a primetime variety series. The show that network executives had tried to kill became one of the most beloved programs in television history. Behind the laughter, however, the production faced constant challenges. The rehearsals were grueling, the network was skeptical, and the pressure to deliver week after week was immense. One scene in particular, however, pushed the boundaries so far that CBS refused to air it. The decision to ban that scene was not made lightly, and the reasons behind it have remained a mystery for decades. Production challenges, internal struggles, and legal issues. The laughter that filled television screens across America during the Carol Burnett Show came at a tremendous cost behind the scenes. The production operated at a pace that would have crushed lesser talents, and the challenges the cast and crew faced were as demanding as anything in the entertainment industry. What viewers saw on their screens every week was the result of countless hours of grueling work, intense pressure, and the constant threat of legal battles that could have derailed the entire production. Legendary fashion designer Bob Mackie was forced into an exhausting production loop, tasked with individually hand-making up to 65 custom costumes every single week. This included the intricate gowns for guest stars, elaborate dance costumes, and everyday character wardrobe. Over the show's 11-year run, Mackie designed an astonishing 17,000 costumes, a feat that still boggles the minds of those who worked alongside him. The sheer volume of work was staggering. Each week, Mackie and his team had to conceptualize, design, and construct dozens of unique outfits, often working around the clock to meet the demands of the production schedule. The curtain rod dress from the iconic Went with the Wind sketch was just one example of Mackie's genius, but it came at the cost of countless sleepless nights. Mackie later recalled that the workload was relentless, and there were times when he wondered if he could keep up with the demands. But he never missed a deadline, and his costumes became an integral part of the show's visual identity. The show's signature opening segment, where Burnett would take questions from the live studio audience, was a source of legal anxiety from the very beginning. Burnett structured this unscripted question and answer block based on her time working on The Gary Moore Show, and CBS legal teams initially flagged the concept as a high liability risk. The lack of an administrative filter on live audience questions meant that anything could happen. Someone could ask an inappropriate question, make a defamatory statement, or even pose a security risk. The network lawyers were deeply uncomfortable with the exposure. They warned Burnett that the segment could open the show up to lawsuits, complaints, and even censorship from network executives. Burnett overrode the legal team by taking total responsibility for any unpredictable responses. She trusted her instincts and her ability to handle whatever the audience threw at her, and the segment became one of the show's most beloved features. The question and answer sessions were often the highlight of the show, giving viewers a chance to connect with Burnett in a way that felt personal and unscripted. The most significant legal battle Burnett faced came in 1976, when the National Enquirer published a damaging gossip article falsely claiming that an intoxicated Carol Burnett had a loud public altercation with diplomat Henry Kissinger at a Washington, D.C. restaurant. The article claimed she spilled wine, became boisterous, and giggled wildly instead of apologizing. The story was entirely fabricated, but it was printed in one of the largest circulation tabloids in the country. The false implication hit Burnett especially hard because both of her biological parents had suffered from devastating alcoholism. She found the implication deeply offensive and filed a massive libel lawsuit. The case went through a high-profile 2-week trial in Los Angeles Superior Court. During the proceedings, it was revealed that the article had been based on unverified tips and hearsay. A freelance tipster had provided information that the National Enquirer writer then published without proper verification. The jury ruled entirely in Burnett's favor, awarding her a historic $1.6 million judgment. While the amount was later reduced on appeal, the case solidified a landmark legal precedent for public figures fighting tabloid malice. Burnett had taken on one of the largest gossip publications in the country and won. The verdict sent a clear message that even celebrities had the right to protect their reputations against false and damaging stories. Copyright issues also plagued the production. When rival networks tried to exploit the historic curtain rod dress sketch, CBS legal teams had to aggressively enforce copyright protection over the physical character designs created by Bob Mackie. The costumes, the characters, and the sketches were all protected intellectual property, and the network was determined to prevent any unauthorized use. The legal battles over the show's content were constant and draining, adding another layer of stress to an already demanding production schedule. Behind the scenes, the cast members themselves faced personal struggles that the public rarely saw. Harvey Korman, Tim Conway, Vicki Lawrence, and Lyle Wagoner all dealt with their own pressures, and the dynamics among the cast were not always harmonious, cast member crises, and internal rifts. The Carol Burnett Show was a success, but that success came at a cost that was often hidden from the audience. And through it all, the cast and crew kept showing up, week after week, to make America laugh. Harvey Korman was one of the most gifted comedic actors of his generation, but behind his brilliant on-camera performances, he suffered from intense personal anxieties. He had a severe temper that frequently manifested as explosive outbursts on set, and he regularly directed this anger at Tim Conway and guest stars during stressful rehearsals. Korman later admitted that there was a lot of anger in him, though he was unsure if it was new anger or old hostilities coming to the surface. One surprising source of his unhappiness was his work on the show itself. He admitted that he wanted more than his role as a second banana. He was tired of playing a supporting character after years with both Danny Kaye and Carol Burnett. Korman had hoped Burnett would leave the show, allowing him to take over the lead role. But when she signed a new contract, he realized that was never going to happen. His frustration grew, and his temper became increasingly difficult to manage. Korman's volatility escalated to a point where Tim Conway calmly but firmly informed him that he would completely walk away from the show if Korman ever raised his voice at him again. The direct confrontation successfully forced Korman to check his behavior, but the tension between the two remained a constant presence behind the scenes. Burnett herself had to intervene during one particularly tense week when Korman was rude to Conway and guest star Petula Clark. She called him into his dressing room and told him she could not work with him if he continued with that attitude. Her ultimatum was clear. She said that the next Monday, she wanted to see him cheerful, and not just on Monday, but the whole week. She added that he was never to be nasty to any of their guests or crew members. The next Monday, Korman appeared with a big smile, skipping and whistling down the hall. A plaque was later placed on his dressing room door, reading "Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky," to remind him of the agreement. Lyle Waggoner's experience on the show was different but equally frustrating. After 7 full seasons, he grew deeply unfulfilled by his highly limited on-camera role. Because he was explicitly framed as the handsome announcer and a comedic foil, television producers refused to consider him for serious dramatic roles outside the variety landscape. He was pigeonholed, typecast, and unable to break free from the image the show had created for him. He officially chose to walk away from the hit series in 1974 to advance his career, eventually securing a role on Wonder Woman. The decision was not easy, but Waggoner understood that staying on the show would mean accepting a limited future. Following Waggoner's departure, CBS corporate executives pressured the show to cast legendary comedian Dick Van Dyke as a permanent star in 1977. The move was intended to fill the void and boost ratings, but the creative chemistry failed instantly. Van Dyke openly admitted he felt highly uncomfortable performing in sketches that were deliberately customized for Korman's specific style. The sketches did not fit his comedic sensibilities, and he struggled to find his footing. His tenure lasted only a few months before he was quietly written out. The casting disaster was a rare misstep for a show that had otherwise been remarkably consistent in its ensemble chemistry. Despite an incredibly close professional bond, a severe personal rift developed between Carol Burnett and Vicki Lawrence following the end of the show. The interpersonal friction was directly aggravated by Burnett's highly stressful, messy divorce from the show's executive producer, Joe Hamilton. Lawrence later reflected that Burnett began to distance herself from the Mama's Family cast during her bitter split from Hamilton, saying it was almost as if she divorced all of them who were involved with him. Lawrence recalled that she understood it was a tough time for her friend, though it was more sad than anything. The two iconic co-stars completely stopped speaking to each other for a long period. Their friendship, which had been one of the most visible and beloved relationships on the show, had fractured under the weight of personal circumstances. The internal struggles among the cast were real, but they did not define the show. What defined the Carol Burnett Show was the brilliance that emerged despite the tensions. The same cast members who clashed off-screen created comedy gold on-screen, and their ability to set aside personal differences for the sake of the performance was a testament to their professionalism. But some episodes pushed the boundaries so far that CBS refused to air them. These controversial segments revealed just how far the show was willing to go before the network stepped in and pulled the plug. Controversial episodes and censor wars. The Carol Burnett Show pushed boundaries throughout its 11-season run, but some episodes went further than others. The cast and writers constantly tested the limits of what network television would allow, and while CBS generally left them alone, there were moments when the censors stepped in. Burnett herself later reflected that the network only gave them one note in 11 years, which made the times they did intervene all the more memorable. The show had earned a reputation for smart, family-friendly comedy, but the writers were always looking for ways to sneak something past the censors. Sometimes they succeeded. Sometimes they did not. And sometimes the network's intervention created a situation that was far more suggestive than the original joke they had tried to ban. The nudist colony sketch became one of the most famous examples of the censor wars. In the sketch, Burnett portrayed a nudist standing behind a large privacy fence while being interviewed by an off-camera Harvey Korman. The visual was suggestive without being explicit. Burnett was bare-shouldered above the fence, with her legs visible below, wearing high-top tennis shoes. Corman's voiceover asked a series of questions about life in the nudist colony, and the jokes were playful rather than crude. The audience understood the premise and laughed at the absurdity of a nudist being interviewed while hiding behind a fence. The trouble came with a single line. When Korman asked what nudists did for recreation, Burnett's character replied that they had dances every Saturday night. When asked how they danced, her response was, "Very carefully." The joke was a classic double entendre, suggestive enough to get a laugh, but subtle enough to pass the censors. The on-set censor initially approved the line, but higher-ups at CBS Program Practices stepped in and demanded a change. They told Burnett the line was too suggestive and had to be rewritten. The network executives were concerned that the joke would offend viewers and damage the show's reputation. They insisted on a change, and the writers were forced to comply. The forced rewrite created an ironic situation that Burnett would later recount with amusement. The network mandated that the line be changed to cheek to cheek. Burnett noted the irony that the network's fix was actually far more suggestive than the original joke they had banned. The new line was racier, more explicit, and left less to the imagination. Burnett told Amy Poehler on her Good Hang podcast that the network executives approved the change and left, seemingly satisfied that they had done their job. The incident became a running joke among the writers, who could not believe that the censor solution was dirtier than their original joke. The sketch aired with the forced rewrite, and the audience laughed just as hard. But the writers never forgot the absurdity of the network's intervention. The most disturbing controversy, however, came from a completely different direction. During the final season in 1977, the cast recorded an installment of The Family Sketch, featuring Mama, Eunice, and Ed. The sketch was usually a source of broad comedy, with exaggerated Southern accents and over-the-top family squabbles. The humor came from the characters' absurd behavior and their hilariously dysfunctional relationships. But this time, the cast made a spontaneous creative choice that changed everything. Right before filming the final take in front of the audience, the actors dropped their exaggerated comedic accents completely. By delivering the raw dialogue with quiet, deadpan seriousness, the sketch transformed from comedy into something far darker. What had been a humorous look at a dysfunctional family became an authentic, unflinching portrait of cyclical emotional maltreatment, deep poverty, and domestic trauma. The laughter stopped. The performance was so deeply distressing that it completely alienated the live studio audience. The floor crew was left in tears. The actors themselves were shaken by what they had created. Burnett found the resulting footage so disturbing and close to her own childhood traumas that she personally held back the segment from ever being placed into standard syndication reruns, locking it away for decades. The ban was not about censorship from the network. It was about Burnett's own judgment that the material was too painful to broadcast. The sketch had crossed a line that even the show's creators had not anticipated. It was real, and reality was something the comedy show was not designed to handle. The segment remained locked away, a forgotten piece of television history that few have ever seen. Burnett later explained that the sketch was too close to home, too reminiscent of the difficult childhood she had endured. She could not bear to share it with the world. The show had always walked a fine line between pushing boundaries and staying within the limits of network television. In most cases, the writers found a way to make their jokes work without crossing the line. But in some instances, the line was crossed, and the consequences were significant. But these sketches were not the only secrets the show kept from its audiences. There was another piece of footage, one involving an elephant, that was banned from ever seeing the light of day. The reason behind its suppression has remained a mystery for decades, and the truth is stranger than anyone ever imagined. The banned elephant tape and the real finale. During a 1977 taping of a Mama's Family sketch, something happened that would become one of the most legendary moments in television history. Tim Conway, known for his improvisational genius, completely discarded the network-approved script. He launched into an entirely ad-libbed, highly convoluted story about a pair of Siamese elephants joined at the trunk. The story was absurd, detailed, and seemingly endless. Conway described how the elephants were connected at the trunk and the strange sounds they made, dragging the monologue out far longer than any scripted material would have allowed. The cast had no idea what was coming. They had rehearsed a completely different sketch, and Conway's impromptu performance caught everyone off guard. The effect on the cast was immediate and uncontrollable. Harvey Korman completely broke character, a phenomenon known in the industry as corpsing. He lost all physical control, visibly gasping for breath on camera as Conway continued his ridiculous tale. The studio camera operators were laughing so hard that the physical video feeds began shaking. The audience was in hysterics the entire time, while Burnett, Lawrence, and Dick Van Dyke desperately struggled to maintain composure. Even Conway himself was seen trying to stifle his laughter numerous times. Several times when Conway would stop, the rest of the cast would collect themselves, only for him to continue his ad-libbing, pushing them again to the edge of breaking up. The laughter was contagious, spreading from the cast to the crew to the audience until the entire studio was in chaos. As Conway finally wrapped up his unscripted monologue, Vicki Lawrence looked directly at him while staying perfectly in her mama character. She snapped at him, asking him if he was finally through. The line was delivered with perfect timing and complete deadpan seriousness, which made it even funnier. At that point, chaos ensued. Conway and Van Dyke both fell off the ends of the couch to the floor laughing, with Conway rolling around and Van Dyke lying flat on his back. Burnett fell back onto the couch and could be seen muttering to herself while shaking with laughter. The studio audience was in absolute hysterics. It was one of those rare moments in television history where the laughter was completely genuine and completely uncontrollable. Delivering direct profanity on primetime 1970s television completely violated FCC and network broadcast compliance regulations. CBS network executives officially cut the profanity out of the original broadcast signal. The raw, uncensored master tape was locked away in corporate vaults for decades. Lawrence later recalled that between tapings, she found out the elephant story was being changed, but was not given any details. The director's only advice was good luck. She also noted that it was one of the rare occasions when she really cut loose on the show. The profanity was removed, and the sketch aired without the offending word. But the legend of the elephant tape grew over the years, becoming one of the most sought-after pieces of television outtakes in history. Fans of the show knew the story, but the actual footage remained locked away, unseen by the public. The elephant sketch became legendary among comedy fans, but it was not the only memorable moment from the show's final days. The real reason the show ended has been the subject of internet rumors for years. Contrary to speculation, the series was never canceled due to low ratings or network conflicts. Instead, Carol Burnett personally made the conscious decision to end the show in 1978 at the height of its success. She felt deeply exhausted by the punishing 11-year physical schedule. She explained that they had done just about everything they could do and had started to repeat themselves in sketches. She wanted to exit the airwaves gracefully before the show's creative quality could experience a natural decline. The decision was hers alone, and it was made with the show still drawing strong ratings and critical acclaim. Following the show's end, the cast members pursued diverse and successful paths. Carol Burnett transitioned directly into highly acclaimed dramatic film roles, including Friendly Fire. She wrote memoirs and achieved icon status, receiving the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. Harvey Korman teamed up permanently with Mel Brooks, starring in classic satirical feature films like Blazing Saddles and High Anxiety. He continued working in film and television until his death in 2008, leaving behind a legacy as one of the greatest comedic actors of his generation. Tim Conway discovered massive financial and commercial success by creating and starring in the highly popular Dorf home video sports parody franchise. He later voiced Barnacle Boy on SpongeBob SquarePants, introducing himself to a new generation of fans. Vicki Lawrence continued playing her iconic character, starring in the highly successful spin-off sitcom Mama's Family from 1983 to 1990. The show ran for 6 seasons and proved that the character could stand on her own. Lyle Waggoner's post-show career took an unexpected turn. He realized that actors spent hours sitting around outside in uncomfortable canvas chairs during on-location shoots. Using his own savings, he bought a fleet of high-end motorhomes and founded Star Wagons, a premier studio trailer rental company. The venture grew into a massive multi-million-dollar corporate empire that completely dominated Hollywood production logistics for decades. Waggoner had found a way to turn his experience in the entertainment industry into a business that served the very people he had once worked alongside. The Carol Burnett Show left behind a legacy that few television programs have ever matched. 25 Emmy Awards, 11 seasons, and countless moments of comedy gold. The show broke barriers, pushed boundaries, and made America laugh for over a decade. The raw, uncensored footage of Conway's elephant story and Lawrence's profane response was eventually released decades later during unedited, late-night retrospective specials, finally giving fans the chance to see what had become the stuff of legend. The moment remains a testament to the improvisational genius of Tim Conway, the quick wit of Vicki Lawrence, and the chemistry of a cast that could turn a simple sketch into television history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates.